Today, we're going to be talking about keeping your sales staff on track. That boils down to a couple different things. The primary key is consistency. You just consistently work with them. We have our team meetings once a week in our own company, and you should have team meetings also. Some people do them once a week, some people do them every day. I have seen more success with every day because then you can keep them on track. The majority of the advisors that I meet have a personality that they like to bounce around from one thing to another. And you'll teach them something and they'll say, oh, that's great. And they'll get good at it. And then they'll go back to their old ways. In general, advisors are not very consistent with change. And so you go back and you reiterate their training, and then you go back and then you reiterate their training. You just have to continue to do that. So most of them, it's just within their personality profile. If they're open to talking to people in general, their personality profile is not systematic. And so when you teach them something new, you just have to continue to reaffirm it and retrain and retrain and retrain. Clear expectations and goals are key. And I'll just go ahead and zoom in on this a little bit so y'all can read that a little bit better. But you set measurable KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators. So you'll set measurable KPIs for calls, for meetings, for deals closed. And when I'm talking about deals closed, you can see some of this deck I've used for other industries. But you're going to talk about your average ticket, your ARO. You're going to talk about your declined work. You're going to talk about close ratio. I'm just going over the different groups and the different names that they call them. ARO is a very typical KPI, so you'll cover those with them. One of the other KPIs that I'm going to reaffirm is your return appointments, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But when you're just be very specific in the things that are measurable, because you can say, be nice, welcome everyone with a smile, answer the phone with a smile. Those aren't measurable. KPIs are. Anything that's a KPI is measurable. So ARO is measurable. So when you're talking to them, selling over the curb is measurable. And so set measurable KPIs with them and track them. Use SMART goals. You've heard this before: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And salespeople, they hate this, but it makes them better and it makes them more money. And so continue to teach them, hey, this is going to make you more money. The reason that we're doing this is to make you more money, to make us more money. And there are other things we're going to talk about in just a minute of why they do it. And we talked about whys in my team meeting yesterday. So this isn't just something that I preach and let it go. The next principle that I'm going to teach is not just for sales, but it's for other people. But just make it specific, make it measurable, make it achievable. I'm not a big fan of if you aim for the moon, you'll reach the stars. I'm not a big fan of that mentality when you're teaching your employees. Aim for the stars and hit the stars. So so make it achievable, because when you have measurable goals, measurable things, and they reach them, they go crazy. So align individual goals with company objectives. So you'll teach them the big picture. This is what our company's trying to do. Weekly check-ins to recalibrate. Yes, I'll have a rah-rah meeting once a week, but I'll also meet with my individual employees and ask them how things are going and reaffirm. And you don't have to tell them this meeting is to reaffirm. You can just ask them, how are things going? And then how are you doing on this particular point? And that's part of your leadership, is you just pull them aside one by one and ask them how things are going. This is what I want to really talk about: sharing the vision. So I don't know who has heard this before, but a man walks up to a job site and he talks to the first bricklayer and he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm laying bricks." And that's his answer. Kind of a get out of my face, I'm laying bricks. And he walks up to the next bricklayer and he says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I'm building a wall." And so he had a little bit bigger vision, the second employee did. And he walked up to the third one. And he said, "What are you doing?" And he almost teary-eyed turned and said, "I'm building a church." And so all three of them were doing the exact same thing. They all had different visions. You need to share your vision with your employees, what they're trying to accomplish. And so that's where I was talking about with the KPIs. You're telling them, look, your ARO is blessing the lives of everyone in the shop. Your techs are relying on your ability to sell AROs. Your customers, if you really do feel that you're giving them the best opportunity,
AG repairs and towing.
there we go. If they
Awesome.
really believe that they are the best opportunity, they shouldn't have as many people saying no to them because they don't let them morally say no to them because they say, look, I just want you to understand. I can appreciate where you're coming from. These brakes, they're squealing. They really do need to be fixed. Or you really do have a blister in this hose and we need to swap it out before you're on the side of the road over by Jesse. And he has to haul you in because your coolant system just blew all over the interstate. So you really should, just because they have good moral compasses and they're able to see that they're looking out for their customers, they're looking out for their fellow employees, they're basically feeding the families of all their fellow employees. They need to see the big picture of what they're trying to accomplish. Accountability is much greater for that. And it boils down to everything in their company, everything in their lives. Say, hey, your kids are relying on you to do this, and so share the big picture with them. So tracking and transparency. Some people have a live dashboard, like your CRM can keep scores for your ARO, such like that. It's good for them to see that. If you have a leaderboard, this can be in a break room, and ShopFix teaches a whiteboard, and I also teach a whiteboard for sales. If you have two different salespeople and you have a goal, let's say for return appointments, and every time they have a return appointment, they go in there with a marker and they do another mark, whether it be you can do different creative ways for them to do it to where they fill up a thermometer, and once it gets to 50 return appointments, then they get a bonus. Employees need to have multiple thermometers, and they go in there and just add another degree to their thermometer. And once it hits 50, they get a bonus or whatever it may be. However creative you want to get with it, they need to have something visual that they can go in and change. So that is very powerful, especially when everybody else can see it. Because if a technician can go in and see that his guys have set 50 return appointments, you're not going to have the same conversation with people saying, hey, we're slow. Do I need to look for another job? That kind of stuff, because they see that the return appointment board growing and they have job security. So this affects everyone when you do something like that in a break room. Public recognition for achievements. I'm really big on this. And so I have an employee that actually came back to me this last month and said, hey, what do you think about an employee of the month? And I'm well aware, obviously, of that program. It's everywhere in the world, but I haven't done it before. And so I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. If you want to have an employee of the month, that is awesome. Please let 11 know about it so we can shout it out in your social media. But employees like the public recognition. Your social media eats that up too if you have an employee of the month. Visual progress boards, we just talked about this. I just got a little bit ahead of myself. Scorecards, if they just have one there on their desk, that's cool, but they need to go and record it publicly and put it on the whiteboard so that people can see who the top performance are, who the top performers are, and they can see that they're actually making a difference. Creative accountability methods, peer accountability partners, team challenges. You can do this with technicians, you can do it with sales. It works everywhere. If you saw the inside of my company, most of our spots are doubled up, and these peers hold each other accountable, and they help each other be successful. They'll share pointers, all that kind of fun stuff. And so that is one thing that I'm big on. If you have two advisors, yes, you can challenge them, but also encourage them to build each other up. Gamification with badges and contests and rewards. This is really fun to turn it into a game. If you have a hard time coming up with some sort of a game for your contest, let me know. But the, we've had some really fun ones with this. So turning things into a game is very effective. It makes it a lot of fun. And so you're turning it from a drury, hey guys, I want you to set return appointments to, hey, you set 20 return appointments, you win this $50 gift card to the local diner so you can take your wife out to dinner. That really works. And you'll go in there with the gift card and you'll tape it to the board and say, hey, the first one to 20 gets this, first one to 50 gets this, whatever it is. Make it very personal and very visible. If you have one that's saving up for a shotgun, and this I've done before, then say the person that gets this many return appointments, the first person that gets to that gets this shotgun. And just have a picture of the shotgun there on the board. Obviously, you don't leave a gun in your shop, but you take a picture of it, stick it on the board, and say the first person to this gets the shotgun. That is, if they can visualize it, the better they can visualize it, the better they will be at reaching that goal. So I highly recommend gamification. And so we're doing something. So right now we're having some project management focuses within our company. And so I've placed Easter eggs throughout our company. And when I say Easter eggs, that means they don't know that they're there. But when they're opening certain tasks that are relevant, then it'll say in there, hey, you found an Easter egg, message Sam and you get a prize. And they're just Easter eggs hidden all through what they're doing. And so you can hide Easter eggs through work orders. You can hide them through different things to motivate your guys. And that is another fun way of gamification. Like I say, we're doing that this week. I believe in that. I believe in making things fun, especially if there's surprises. And once they've found one Easter egg, they're going to go through all the rest of their tasks looking for more Easter eggs. Um, Rotating sales captain. So there's one way to get around a sales manager, and that's if one of them has the lead role as a sales captain and he gets a spiff that month for being the sales captain. This teaches them leadership, it teaches them accountability, and they're going to bring ideas to the table that they wouldn't normally bring because they're the sales captain for the month, and they're going to have different ideas, and they're going to bring that to the table the next month if they are not the sales captain this month. And if you get a complainer, he's like, I wouldn't do it that way. Say, okay, next month you're the sales captain. Let's see how you're going to do it. And they start taking more ownership of their spot if you do it. And so I do love that. Short sales spotlights. I like to do a spotlight on it. Jesse's on here when he has a guy that sold $42,000 in 1 week. We That's somebody you spotlight. He was just killing it. So recognition and motivation, I'm big on celebrating small wins, big ones obviously, but constantly I'm messaging our employees saying, hey, you killed it on this, great job. Do more like that. That works better than don't do it like that. Tailored incentives. I will give time off. Yesterday I said, hey, it's your birthday, take an hour off. And gift cards work, experiences work, not just cash. Experiences are typically less expensive than cash. Like I say, if you're given a $50 gift card for going out to dinner, that actually works better than a $50 bill because it's an experience that you've given them. Tell them, hey, take pictures and share your experience tomorrow with the team. That works really well. And then a wall of wins. I love highlighting when you have somebody that is out on the freeway, they break down, you tow them in, you get them back on the road quick, and just take a picture and say, hey, here's one of our wins. We got them back on the road, share the vision of how great it worked out for them. If you have somebody that was in another shop and they had a $3,500 recommendation, they came in and you fixed it for 1,000, and they're like, hey, great job, 5 stars, take that and post it. Your employees love it. Your customers love that kind of stuff. I like walls of wins. You see this in like a Bass Pro Shop. People come in and they'll take a picture of a fish that they caught or a deer that they got, and they'll post it on the wall of wins. If you have a culture like this, cool 4x4s you worked on, cool cars you worked on, just a cork board of cool vehicles you've worked on or just the smiles of people that you've helped out. A wall of wins is really effective both in sales and for your customers, and it does motivate people to let them know that they're building churches, not just laying bricks. So encourage feedback loops. So not only are you bringing them this, come back and say, "Hey, Sam taught you this. How's it working?" And you can catch things early on. They can say, "Well, I hate this." Of course they will. It's a new system, but you can if you just pick one thing to focus on, just come back and say, "Hey, how are you doing on the setting return appointments?" And if they really have significant concerns, either you can help them out or you can have them talk to me. I'm more than happy to have a three-way call with them. Uh, we can do that if they have concerns with it. But like I say, selling over the curb, it's just so simple. They just have to do it right. If they follow the steps, then they're going to be successful. So, sales training preview. Okay. So this is Modern Auto, and this is actually my wife. She just did an awesome photo op when we were there because we didn't have a picture of the sales counter. But so we were just doing a brief sales with them, and I love using real pictures in our presentations and stuff. So the first one that we're going to talk about is simple phone sales. This one changes everything. You should have at least a 50% selling over the curb close ratio. If you're not, something's wrong. And so 50% of the calls that come in, you should be converting them to have somebody come in. And in automotive, possession is 9/10 of the law. So if you have the vehicle in possession, then you should be able to upsell if you look for anything that's torn, worn, or frayed. So just as an owner, you need to know that that is one of the sales topics that's coming up. The next one is setting return appointments. This will change your slow time. So this same guy, we taught him months ago to do this, and guess what? They're having the best September they've ever had. And they're in a market that's down right now, but they're having the best one that they've had because they stacked the deck for September. If you use this properly, then it will stack your deck for slow seasons. Getting referrals. This is very simple training that we do. We're probably going to pair it up with one of these other ones, but that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. If you don't have a referral card system, I would highly recommend getting referral cards. Just talk to Gab. She'll get you on the list. We'll get your referral card artwork done. It only takes a day to get that turned around and back to you. And declined work, we're also going to talk about that with your sales staff. And so you know that this is coming up. If you have something you want me to, in particular, talk about with any of those things, please let me know. We're going to be talking about sales all of October. And so do you have any feedback or anything you'd like us to focus on?
No, that's all great.
Awesome. And like I say, the key ingredient is just continuing to reiterate. And if you reward them, that is the easiest way to get them to start doing what you're asking them to do.